Parashat Eikev. At the height of Moses' speech, he does something surprising. He turns from the perils his people has survived in Egypt to see the 40 years in the wilderness and warns them instead about the dangers still ahead. And it is not an enemy or famine or defeat. It is success. When you have eaten and are satisfied, he tells them, when the fine houses are built and the flocks have been multiplied and the silver and gold are piled high, then your heart will grow proud and you will forget the Lord your God. One sentence will rise unbidden in the heart of a person who has arrived. My power and the might of my hand have made me all this wealth. It is a strange thing to fear. These are no longer slaves, but soon to be landowners. And Moses, on the edge of the promised land, tells them that the promise is the trap. The wilderness was not the test. The wealth is. A nation's whole future, he says, will turn on a single word, on whether, in the moment of satisfaction, a person remembers or forgets. The corrective is one carefully worded verse. Remember the Lord your God, for it was He who gives you the power to make wealth. But why should anything hang on memory? To answer this, we first have to see exactly what the proud heart gets wrong. Notice what the verse does not say. It does not say it was not really you. It does not deflate the achievement or hand all the credit upward. The Ran, Rabbeinu Nissim of Cherona, saw this with unusual clarity, refusing to read the verse as calling the wealthy man a liar. There truly are people, he wrote, gifted at building and gathering, and others who are gifted at wisdom. Their strength is real, and it really was their effort that produced what they have. Had the Torah meant to erase the human being as a cause, it will have said, God gives you wealth. Instead, it says God gives you the power to make wealth, holding together two things we are forever trying to pull apart. Human effort, the Ran taught, is indispensable, but never independent. We act as partners, not authors. Our hands do the work, but their strength was placed in them. The Talmud tells a story that the sages of Alexandria asked Rabbi Yeshua what a person must do to grow wealthy. His answer was not pray and wait. It was increase your dealings in trade and conduct your business faithfully. Do the work and do it honestly. But they pressed him. Many have done exactly that and stayed poor. And then he completed a thought. Let them also pray for mercy from the one whom the wealth belongs. For it is written, mine is the silver, mine is the gold. Not prayer instead of labor. Labor and knowledge that the labor alone does not command the outcome. You must plow the field. You cannot make the rain. The effort is entirely yours. The soil, the season, the strength in your arms, the world that happens to award what you're good at, those were given. Remembering that your power was given is not meant to diminish you. It is the opposite of the sour thought that says you didn't really earn this, so it isn't really yours. A thought the Torah is not interested in. It never asks you to despise your own achievement or to perform a false modesty that turns into resentment. What it asks you is to recognize your success rests on a foundation you did not lay, and that this is not a debt that shames you, but a privilege that obligates you. Think what really makes a person, not only the effort you can take credit for, but everything that came before it and made it possible. Parents who fed you before you could feed yourselves, the languages you were handed, the teachers, the safety, the accumulated trust of society built by people you could never repay. You were given opportunity you did not create, and that is true of the most self-made person alive. See it clearly, and the moral consequence follows on its own. Because you were given the beginning you did not earn, you owe to those who have none. Because someone cared for you when you were weak, you're bound to care for the weak. Because you were shaped by the world you inherited, you're obligated to hand down a world worth inheriting, to strengthen the bonds, to honor the people and the place that formed you, to leave the field with its corners uncut. And that is why the Torah grounds its morality in memory. Everywhere throughout Moses' speeches, he references this. The commands come attached to a memory. Because you were slaves in Egypt, therefore free your slave. Therefore love the stranger. Therefore leave the coin of your field for the poor. Remember that you were a slave, and the Lord your God redeemed you. Therefore keep Shabbat. Therefore deal justly. The reason given for the obligation is never an argument or a calculation. It is a memory. You know what it is to be at the bottom, so you owe something to those who are there right now. Nachmanides read our own verse in just this exact key. The Israelites, he notes, are mighty, in war likened to lions, and because their strength is no illusion, the correction is not you are weak, but remember God who brought you out of Egypt where you had no power at all, and sustained you in the wilderness there where you had nothing in your hand. The corrective for a proud heart is not a smaller estimate of the self, and it is stronger memory. This is a strikingly different foundation from the ones other traditions has reached for. Some built ethics on reason, work it out from first principles, what a rational agent must do. Some built it on outcomes, weigh the consequences and seek the greatest good for the greatest number. Some built on sympathy, trust the compassion that raises when you see another person suffer. Each is real, and each, on its own, has proven strangely fragile. Reason rationalizes, outcomes are calculated by the powerful in their own favor, and sympathy fails exactly when it is most needed, in the hour of comfort, when the sufferer is out of sight. The self-made man is the proof. He has reason, he can calculate, he is not cruel by nature. What he has lost is a memory that he was once carried, and with it the sense that he owes anything to anyone. His forgetting is not an intellectual mistake, it is a moral catastrophe wearing a mask of success. Memory does what others cannot, because it works from below rather from above. It does not deduce obligation or calculate it. It makes you feel it in the only way the obligation is ever felt, by remembering that you too were once on the other side of it. A person who remembers being a stranger cannot fully harden himself against a stranger. A person who remembers being carried knows in his body that he did not arrive by himself. That is why the Torah commands remembering the way other systems command reasoning. The guardian of conscience is not logic, it's memory. But there's a problem, and the Torah knows it better than we do. Memory is exactly what prosperity erodes. The heart that has eaten and is satisfied is built to forget. So the Torah does not leave remembering to willpower, knowing how little that is worth at the summit. It does something more cunning. It stitches memory into the body and the ordinary day, so that a person is made to remember whether or not he means to. There are fringes on the corner of your garment. Look at them, the Torah says, and remember, so that you do not stray after your own heart and eyes. Naming the very wandering are partial fears. There are words bound on the hand and between our eyes, and words on our doorpost, touched, coming and going. And that is at the exact pressure point of our verse. It is commanded that when you have eaten and are satisfied, in that precise moment, their proud sentences form. You stop and bless. Not only because you're grateful, because gratitude, left to a feeling, arrives too late, too rarely. So it is made as a fixed act, set at a table day after day, until remembering no longer depends on the mood. Judaism does not trust the heart to remember its own. It builds remembering into the hours, so that the truth you are most tempted to forget is the one rehearsed the most often. A people, no less than a person, lives or dies by it. A nation that remembers it was once enslaved, once homeless, once dependent on kindness it could not command, stays bound to its weak, because they know their condition was once their own. A nation that comes to believe its prosperity is pure product of its own virtue, owed to no one, will read the poverty of others as a verdict on their character, and the bond between the strong and the weak will quietly rot, which is precisely how prosperous civilizations fail. The danger was never the wilderness, it was the land, and the ease, and the forgetting that the ease makes possible. Remember the Lord your God, for it was He who gives you the power to make wealth. Keep the power, it's yours, you worked for it, the deed is real. Remember that it was given, that you were handed the strength and the soil and the beginning. Because the memory of what you were gives the root from which everything you owe grows. Forget it, and you keep the wealth and lose the world. Remember it, and strength you were given becomes in your hands a strength you can lift others who are not yet lifted. And that is how the gift, held rightly, becomes not a possession but an obligation, which is the only thing a gift was ever meant to be. It does not make us smaller, but binds us to one another. To turn every gift we were handed into debt we're glad to owe. To lift the fallen and repair what is broken. We were given the power to make, and we're asked to use it and heal the fractured world. Shabbat Shalom.